Yeah, yo, sometimes you gotta go to war for what you believe in. Sometimes you gotta go to war for what it is that you want, what you see that's right. I'm about to go to war, but lyrically. War cry, baby. Yeah. Hey yo, war cries echoes in the background. That's the sound of soldiers getting ripped up and tore down. Lyrically dismantle metaphors and manhandle. Marauder with me.
Welcome to another episode and edition of Impose My Will podcast. I am your host, your brother Ramone. With me, my host, my brother Joe. Joe, what's going on with you?
Man, we're doing good, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's been a busy one, but we good over here. How you?
Doing great, man. Just want to address the audience, guys. Definitely apologize about missing out the last couple of weeks. Life has been lifing, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So, we had to take a little time off, but now we back, man. We back better than ever. With everything that's just been going on in the world and personally and everything like that, man. But, you know, we are back, man. We definitely want to get back and touch the people and build with y'all and get these episodes back rolling. So, Joe, it's been a lot that happened since the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
Um, I want to touch on a little bit, but I don't think we have to really dive deep into it because it's kind of came and went, and I
Right.
don't really want to, force feed people what they've already, saw, right? So, shout out to Javante, Tank Davis, and Lamont Roach
Roach.
Jr. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, for an incredible fight. Um, Controversial to some people. Um, so what matter of fact, go ahead, you quickly, if you can, go ahead and give us your feeling on everything as far as that goes.
Ah, man. You know how I was calling that fight from the get go. You know what I mean? I was telling, I didn't really care for too many of the commentators' analysis because everybody was kind of like shitting on Roach. Like he wasn't, what I'm saying, contender. You know what I mean? Like a valid contender. Now, obviously, he proved that he did that night. Um, with all the fiascos that went down, talk about with the knees and everything. Outside of that, I'm not mad at it being a draw. You know what I mean? Like they both displayed greatness in that ring that night. I don't even think Tate was like phased by it being a draw because they had history. You know what I mean? In their world, Lamont Roach has been on Tank Hills all his life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of glad that, what I'm saying, looking forward to the rematch. They trying to get everything tightened up with that. And yeah, man, looking forward to seeing that again and seeing, what I'm saying, about a greatness between the two. And I wish the best too for Lamont Roach. Like
Yeah.
yesterday's price ain't today's price for him. And
Nah.
it's well
Nah.
deserved and well earned, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to him and his father and saying Tank as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm with you. I thought it was a great fight. I think you one of the few people who actually felt different about the fight as far as a lot of people thinking Tank was going to eventually walk him down, knock him out. And I know that through our conversations, you felt something different. And I think what you felt was correct in this particular situation. My personal opinion, I feel like Lamont Roach squeezed out a victory. If the knee was counted, he definitely would have got a
definitely
victory.
wins.
But
Mhm.
again, I'm not necessarily mad at the draw either. It's going to be a bigger fight, bigger everything. This next go round, and
Mm.
I think we're going to see a better version of Tank, and I think we're going to see a better version um of Lamont. I'm actually like, I kind of feel like people are still sleeping on Lamont a little bit. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail. We move on from this, but they're
Mhm.
saying, a lot of people are saying that Tank is going to go back and he's going to come back and be, quote unquote, Tank of old because he's mad and stuff like that. But again, come on, Lamont and his team are going to review and rewatch it and make adjustments too. So I think we're in for another great fight. I don't think it's going to be one sided, no matter which way we get it. You know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that. Like, we in
Yeah,
line for another good one. So
yeah.
be
We in
prepared.
line
Be
for
prepared. Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely, man. I want to give a shout out to Gary Antoine Russell, man. Put on a
Showed out.
wonderful, wonderful a shutout. He pitched a complete shutout against El Rayo, which I don't think nobody really seen that coming. To be honest with you,
I damn sure
I don't
did.
think
I
nobody.
figured it was going to be a battle, but I did not. Especially the way Ryo fought Pitbull Cruz.
Pitbull, yeah,
Like, to
yeah,
go to that, like, but
yeah,
that shows you the level of
mhm,
skill that Gary
yeah,
Antoine Jr. had. You know what I'm saying? So it's
yeah,
like, yo, whew, that was a hell of a fight. But yeah, definitely took me by surprise. I did not see it going like that.
absolutely. He was a dog every single round. His output was amazing. I mean, he was in incredible shape because he kept it up the
Oh
entire
yeah,
fight.
he
The
didn't let
entire
back. He
fight. So
didn't hold back.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
didn't hold back. Beautiful performance.
No.
So yeah, so moving on, I would like to talk about something a little bit more current. So the return of Keith Thurman, Keith one time Thurman,
One time.
one time, fun, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, he came back, fought Brock Jarvis out in Australia. Um, Good fight, good entertaining fight. I don't know what I was expecting, to be quite honest with you. I mean, if we
I know
had to
you made me
kind of
eat my words.
yeah, right. You're right. I know you threw a couple bucks, you know what I mean? And and it went the way it went.
Right.
Um, but I didn't really know what to expect. He's been out
Nah.
for what they say 3 years.
3 years, bro.
3 years due to injury. You know, blah blah blah. We know this. Everybody knows the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't expecting him to. Well, I'll put it like this. I was expecting him to win a fight, right? But I wasn't expecting his accuracy to be that good. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting his movement to be as good as it was. I was expecting him to look a bit more rusty, even though Brock Jarvis is not, a or a B fighter per se. Um, but I did expect a little bit more ring rust and for him to kind of carry the fight a little bit deeper
Mm-hmm.
to get some of that rust off of him. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. He got busy. He hit him with this beautiful, I don't know if you want to call that a cross that kind of also looked like a hook or a hook that kind of looked like a cross, whatever you want to call it. And it
Mm-hmm.
went downhill from there. Um, his movement was good. Father Time is Father Time. He's not going to be as mobile as he was. It just is what it is. But to me, he looked better than kind of what I expected. Again, I didn't really have expectations, so I just base it on how we saw him in his last couple of fights. I wasn't super impressed by his last couple of fights. Even though he got the wins, we know that he's weaker to the body. Things like that, right? So,
Right. Right.
what's your thoughts on everything, Joe?
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, I didn't know what to expect at all from him.
Right.
I wasn't too familiar with Jarvis, but like you said, based
Yeah.
off the last couple of fights, he didn't look great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was one of the fights there too that I thought that you know what I mean, but like, you
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
I was surprised by, and it could be because like maybe Brock Jarvis wasn't like what I'm saying, more of an upper
Yeah.
echelon fighter that
Right.
could what I'm saying, undershadow what I'm saying, really where Thurman was at. But he looked it good, man. Not to take none from him. Like I said, he
I
made me
agree.
eat my words.
Right.
Watching him, like he looked as sharp.
Hmm.
The power was there.
Yeah.
His precise and precision, the accuracy was there. Solid game plan, and he looked like he was having fun out there. You know what I'm saying? So
I
like,
agree.
kudos to him, man. You know what I'm saying? I tip my hat off to him on that victory. Um, the question I would say that would be more prevalent would be, what do you see for him after, because I heard, his corner after he got the knockout was like, "We back. Are Do you try to make a push into going deeper? Because honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Earl Spence if that's the case. Earl coming off the loss, still haven't fought yet. Um, so to see them two go at it could kind of, saying give us a little something. I think it's long overdue. Saying that fight should have happened like years ago. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that with them two kind of trying to bounce back right now, because at this point with Earl, like, is he even coming back to fight or no?
Right. Right. Good question. Great questions. I have a couple of thoughts on that. My first thought is, I felt like this whole fight, this whole thing, was a more of a it was a get back for sure, but
Hmm.
also a promotional push to reignite possibly him versus Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was at the fight.
Yeah,
He
he was.
called Tim Tszyu out at the fight. That deal was done. The fight was on. Unfortunately, he had sustained an injury, but that was the fight that we were supposed to be getting, right? And so Tim Tszyu had some unfortunate events. He lost his last two losses. Lost the previous one. He got stopped.
Hmm.
Um, Keith's been off for 3 years. He had injuries and stuff like that. That puts them on an even playing field, in my opinion.
Yes.
Um, so I feel like that could be a reality. Keith came. He got a good response in Australia. Of course, Tim Tszyu was that guy in Australia. That could easily be made
Hmm.
a big fight in Australia. Also, my second thought is the Aero Spence thing, just like you said, right?
Hmm.
Um, he's talked about that in post interviews about making the Aero Spence fight. Talked about the previous negotiations between him and Errol Spence, that the deal was done. He signed, Errol didn't sign. He pulled out for a bigger bag and a bigger fight, which is understandable, right?
You're right.
So with Errol being out, taking a brutal loss, and then also being inactive, um, that puts them on a even playing field too. My only thought to that is that Errol Spence is still extremely popular.
Hmm.
And he can still get a huge bag with another A plus fighter, even though he had the performance he had and the loss that he had, and in the time off, he could he can still really pick up the phone and pick a huge fighter. And
Right.
with Arrow, his whole mantra is, I don't take no tune-ups. I'm only taking big fights. I'm only taking big money fights, right?
Hmm.
I don't necessarily believe Keith is a tune-up per se, but if you put Keith on the table
The ring
and then
rust.
put somebody bigger on the table, Arrow he's already did it with Keith. He's
Right.
he's absolutely probably going to take the bigger fight, the bigger bag. Now, that poses the question, is that smart? Is that the intelligent thing to do? Arrow don't believe in no tune-ups. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
But Arrow should probably get a tune-up. I'm not saying that Keith is a tune-up per se, but because they both had some, I wouldn't say similar, but they both had some setbacks, that it would make more sense to have that fight and then maybe catapult into a bigger fight, have it at 154 where it's a bit more comfortable for both of them.
Hmm.
But Arrow is at a point, he said he had a point in his career where he's only chasing big fights, he's only chasing big bags. If the
Right.
bag is big enough for Keith, sure, he'll probably take the fight. Um, but who knows if it's big enough. So I think in reality, um, that the Tim Tszyu fight might make a bit more sense, because again, it was already done. He's fighting in Australia. They could put this thing together in Australia. It kind of makes more sense on a promotional
Yes.
level.
Hmm.
But I think that if Arrow said, "Joe, okay, I want that fight," then that fight will happen. Against Keith, that fight will happen. At this point, like you said, we don't, you know, he says he's not retiring. Arrow says he's not retiring.
Right. Right. Right.
But we have no idea who his next opponent is. If there's
Still
anybody
don't
on the
even know who his
table,
coach is.
say it again.
So we still don't even know who his coach is.
Right. There hasn't even been anybody named. I know that Bradman had another interview where
Right.
he said, he came through,
He came
but he
through and
hasn't
worked
been
out.
named as the coach.
Right.
Right. He
Mhm.
worked out, and he hasn't been named as the coach. But I think he's like in the forerunning, in the forefront to
Yeah.
being his coach. He was like, if Errol call and make the call, then it is what it is. But at this particular point, that hasn't been the case. So Errol
Exactly.
Spence, as far as we know, doesn't even have a head coach. See, I'm sure he's training with coaches. He got mid guys and stuff. We see it, right? But he
Right.
don't even
You
have a head
saw
coach.
him working with Frank Martin still. You know.
Yeah. Still working with Frank Martin. Who's this fighter? Who's signed to
Mhm.
him? Um, it's a lot going on even on that side. Frank took a big loss from Tank. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
now you got to kind of rebuild him up. You got to find
Right.
him a
Right.
fight or whatever. So there's a lot going on over there. I could I could see Keith and um and Tim Zoo making that happen because it's not a lot in their way. You know what I
You know
mean? It's
what?
not a lot to figure out.
Right. And to
Just
like
make
pivot
sense.
off of what you're saying there, that do make more sense for him to go and fight Tim Zoo first,
Yeah,
because at the same time too, all right, Keith Thurman is probably also trying to get the bag is while he can. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
I don't see
Yeah.
him trying to, do this for too much longer. How long has he been fighting? I think you mentioned something like almost 29 years altogether from amateurs up.
Hmm.
So when you think about it, all right, he fight Tim Zoo. If he prevails in Tim Zoo, he may have be more a lot more eager and feel more ready and confident to fight
Yeah,
somebody of a Earl Spence. And then
I agree.
if
Yeah,
if Earl Spence isn't going to fight no time soon,
yeah,
that fight could possibly happen. What, September?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I mean, if that could happen, then it'd be ideal. Like I said, he's only going to go for the big bag fight or whatever.
Yeah,
That will possibly be an ideal fight at that time. But
yeah.
after Keith Thurman fights Tim Zoo, especially if Earl Spence is not going to take a tune-up fight.
Right. I agree. I think also, well, and when you think about it, Keith Thurman is 36,
Mm-hmm.
Arrow is 35, Tim Zoo's 30, so he still has a bit to go.
Yeah.
But Arrow and Keith are essentially in the winters of their career, right? They're
Right.
still good. They're still very athletic. They're young, but we know boxing career usually ends right around this time, 36, 37. Everybody ain't Bernard Hopkins. Everybody ain't fighting to their 40s and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But they're getting to the end. So
Yeah.
it would make sense for Keith to push for the biggest fights if they're available for the bigger bags, and then of course Arrow. That's what he always say. That's what he does. He fight. He's a prize fighter through and through. He wants the biggest fights and he wants the biggest bags, and that's really for legacy, but it's also for financial stability for the rest of your life and your children's life and all that different stuff. They're trying to garner the most money possible while they still can. Um, so really, we'll see, man. Well, it's I feel like between those three guys,
Mm-hmm.
there could be fights made with either each other or other opponents, of course. But I feel like Tim or Keith Arrow at this point is both good fights. Um, I feel like there'll be competitive fights. I'll be very honest with you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The last couple of and then I'll leave it at this. The last couple of fights I've seen of Keith, I was not super impressed. I felt like Arrow would have not dog walked him, but Arrow would have won convincingly.
Yes.
We have no idea how Arrow looks now. Have no
Right. Right.
idea.
Mm.
So it could be a whole different thing. Keith finally got some rust off. He ready to go. If Arrow
That's why I
go in there
think
with
it'd be
Keith,
such a fair fight. Like to
yeah,
see them both kind of go at it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
No, because
yeah.
nobody truly knows, like you said, what you're going
Nobody
to
knows.
get between the two. But it would kind of give Keith a little bit more of a hey, possibly because
Yeah.
Earl's been out of the ring for so long, especially if
Yeah.
he, you know what I'm saying, prevails over Tim Zoo, who's much, you know what I'm saying, 5 years younger or 6 years
Yep.
younger than him, but
Yep.
still's been active. And you know he's going to come to thump. So I think Tim Zoo would be the
Yeah.
perfect warm up. And like I said, if he prevail, yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's let's make this happen. You know what I mean?
Let's make it happen. I'm with both. I'm with go either way. I'm with it. I'm
Mhm.
just happy to see Keith Thurman back, and I'm happy to see him come back the way he did with a
Yes.
stoppage, still with really accurate punching. Um, and don't get me wrong, Brock Jarvis was trying to work that body. Keith Thurman did very well. Either deflecting or just taking the shots. And
And that power is still there. So
yeah, and the pop, and that's against a younger, bigger, fighter. He still
mhm.
was able to get him out of there. That uppercut was disgusting.
that
I
that
mean,
uppercut was nasty.
yeah,
The
yeah,
nastiest punch of the fight was that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Keith is of this of that last like generation, that crop of generation, like the Sean Porters and all that. Keith was
Mhm.
one of the most athletically gifted boxers. Man, the way he threw those shots and those punches, and
Oh yeah.
the way he moved and stuff, he was nice, man. He was
Mhm.
nice, man. So that's all I got, big dog. You got anything?
Nah, nothing more, man. It's just, you know what I'm saying, folks, we back. Yeah, I
Back,
mean,
man.
like I said, you know what I'm saying, in the beginning, it's been a minute. But yeah, man, we right here. It's a lot of boxing coming up. We got some good
Yep.
boxing this weekend.
Yep.
Um you got Edgar Barlega on the card. I
Yep.
got to go through that whole card, but we got some fights this weekend. If you're in the Niagara Falls, Buffalo regions, coming up next month, we got the finals of the Buffalo Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
Um, we got local boxing, a professional
Yeah.
bout coming back to the Seneca Niagara Casino. We just
Yep.
had the MMA, the LFA event. Oh man, it's been a lot going on in the boxing combat world, y'all. You know, you already been hearing the news with TKO.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's big too. But we, you know, saying we're gonna say that for y'all. We're gonna come back and talk. We're gonna let some things percolate a little bit more,
Let
and
it
we'll be
percolate.
back
Let
to
it
y'all.
percolate. Yeah, man.
Mhm.
Oh, real quick, I would be remiss without just even mentioning the Natasha Jonas fight versus Lauren Price, I believe her name is. Did you get a chance to check that one out?
No, I still gotta catch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was Natasha Jonas had, a great career. Even at this age, 40 years old, she still boxes well. She still was really great. Um, but it was a one-sided fight, man. Go check it out. If y'all haven't got a chance to check it out, check it out. We don't discriminate. We cover male and female boxing. I ain't
Yes,
gonna go
sir.
into it, but check that fight out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pose My World podcast on everything, on all social media. Get with us. Merch is still available. I will put the
Yes.
link down below. Pose My World podcast. We back, baby. Good to see y'all. Peace.